when you do the designing part, right, how much of that is replicated into reality? Like, is there a percentage that I can 100% do it, or
100%.
that's
Yeah. So like I said, so we do the design, show it to the client, so and do all the changes before we start off, and that's the reason we do that. So everything is all the changes are done. Once they give an okay, it's only then that it's taken. Must be 100% is a little too much. 90%. I mean, thinking back, yeah. So the 90% is because sometimes tweaks happen at the site.
okay?
Okay, so not that it's not fitting there or anything.
Hmm.
It's just like probably if we have put in a few things, then when we do the marking and and we say okay, let's forget this, or we add a little bit. So yeah, 90%.
Can't say 100%.
No, I
Otherwise,
can't say
someone will come
yeah.
tomorrow.
So that's why immediately I changed.
Now the world is moving towards eco-friendly approach where
Yeah.
they're looking at materials which are sustainable, eco-friendly.
Yeah.
So how much of that have you incorporated into your
Um, I would want to do more. To be very honest, we're always looking for products which are eco-friendly. Um, we try and educate the client also, because at the end of it they are the ones who take the decision. Yeah, we can educate them, we can tell them, but then at the end of it, as a client, if they say no, we can't do anything much. So as a designer, we keep educating them and telling them, and I'm not doing it as much as I want to, but I want to do more. We're always looking for products which are eco-friendly and sustainable.
So you said you draw inspiration from your travel, right?
Mhm.
So I'm sure you would have seen certain places where this is something that I want to do. Is there something in your mind where you're yet to replicate it? Or you feel like, no, I have to do this to my next project?
Not replicate, it's more of an
Inspiration.
inspiration, right? So nothing that I love art deco
Hmm.
design. That is something I've still not been able to. uh, I would love to do a home where I want to do that design.
Okay.
I have not been able to do that. So there is this walking tour
Hmm.
which we took in Miami.
Okay.
It was an Art Deco walking tour.
Hmm.
So we went through all the buildings and all the, whether the interiors or the exteriors. So we went through all these buildings. This is Art Deco. It was amazing, and I still want to do that, and I've not been able to. I don't know how you asked this question. Amazing.
No, because see, sometimes when even in my field, when we see a certain treatment or something which is getting a good finish, we always want to try to achieve to that level. So you always draw inspiration of like, wow, that is something out of the box which they have tried,
Yeah.
and they've done it in what a shorter period of time.
Yeah, and then what happened also to me was, I think one of the architects or interior designers in the organization, the networking organization that I'm in, they put up that picture
Hmm.
where it was designed. The design was Art Deco. I looked at that and I said, "Oh, I still haven't done it," and I actually wanted to go see that building. I haven't seen it, but yeah, this is something good. You reminded me; I had forgotten about it.
That you've been in the industry for 20 years, I'm sure you would have seen that everyone suddenly feels this fascination because there was a trend that everyone wanted to be a photographer.
Yeah.
Now I feel like there is this trend where everyone, if you don't, whether you do engineering, MBBS, BDS, whatever it is, it's okay. I'm creative. Let me become an interior designer.
Yes.
So in terms of the industry saturation, how saturated is it?
Well, to put it very bluntly, it is getting saturated if it's already not. Uh, the reason being, like you said, everybody wants to be an interior designer. See, to be an architect, you can't just randomly get up one day and say, I'm an architect. Because you have to do that 5 years. But whereas interior designer, you can do a diploma, or like I know somebody who's into real estate,
Hmm.
and then he says, I do interiors.
Hmm.
I'm like, how is it possible? So it is, and they think that there's a lot of money in it. So everybody wants to get into it. Yes, it is getting saturated. I hope it changes, and I don't know. Let's see how it goes.
Since you touched about the part where the client chooses the person, what are the biggest mistakes that a client makes in terms of selecting the interior designer or the design order?
Um, when it comes to choosing the interior designers, I think if they go only by the price point,
Hmm.
that will be the biggest mistake they'll be doing. Every designer um, will design according to the client's budget.
Hmm.
Like, let's say you have a budget of X for spending in your home. As a designer, it is my responsibility to make sure I stick to that budget. Okay, a good designer or an interior designer or an architect will keep that in mind.
Hmm.
So just because if somebody is doing it for a lesser price doesn't mean it is good. So I think that's the biggest mistake the clients do. Go for a person who's offering it at a dirt cheap price.
In terms of the projects which you choose,
Yeah.
which is more interesting for you? Is it apartments, individual homes, or a villa project?
I wouldn't say one is more interesting than the other because space wise, they're all different. So every project is interesting in
Hmm.
its own way. It just so happened that for the past 2 years, I've done more individual houses
Okay.
than apartments.
Hmm.
So that's all. It's not like one is interesting, the other one is not. It's the advantage of space when it comes to an independent house or a villa. It's more of you have more space to
Hmm.
work on. So that's all I would say when you compare.
Hmm.
But interesting, all of them are.
Yeah. Whatever gives you money.
Yeah.
When you're planning a particular project, right, there's always a particular deadline that you want to achieve, saying
Mhm.
that I have to finish the project within this stipulated time.
Yeah.
Is it always manageable, or do you have some hurdles where, of course, sometimes it might get a little bit delayed? Or
Interior projects do tend to get delayed. To be very honest, yeah, we try and keep up with the timelines, but you the client also has the little backup. Even we also have a backup. So when we tell them this is how much time it takes, we always have that little buffer.
something?
And even the client, they want it in, let's say, 4 months, they
Okay.
will give us a little less time only.
Mm.
So they also will have a buffer. So that way we manage.
Okay.
So it's been manageable.
You do furniture part also, right?
Yeah, so the furniture, the carpenter doesn't do the loose furniture is what we source out
Okay.
from a few vendors that we've been again
Hmm.
working for a long time.
So loose furniture, basically, you bring it to the place and make it, or you pre-make it and
No, no, we pre-make it.
okay.
So we identify the vendor. Then the vendor also comes in to see the space, and the design is selected. The client and me go and select the designs, and it's made, and then it's brought. That is only your chairs, your sofa, your dining table.
Okay.
In terms of that, the beds and all are made by our team only.
Even the cupboards.
Yes, of course.
Now, I mean, like since you already said it's saturated,
We're
for
going
some
back to that,
for
huh?
someone who is into interior designing, like who's starting off basically, what advices would you give to them so that basically the challenges that you faced and how you overcame it, so that they are prepped for that?
Um, One thing I tell them, whoever is wanting to start off, is don't be in a hurry to start off on your own. Have the right amount of experience. Uh, Sometimes it can be, you know, you want to start off immediately, like within a year, you want to start off on your own. Don't do that. Have patience. Experience matters a lot. So work with the right architects or interior designer that you want to for at least 4 to 5 years minimum, and then think of starting on your own. That's one thing I give them advice,
So,
because these days I see that
hmm.
uh, like everybody wants to, I mean, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, everybody wants to start off on their own, but if you don't have the experience, it won't work.
So how would they select the right architect or the right
That is completely up to them. It's not I mean, that is completely up to them, because see, some of them want architects or interior designer who work a certain style.
Hmm.
Okay, so based on that, they can. Some want a big organization. Some want just that small office,
Hmm.
very artistic, very small office, and some of them want. Some architects work on heritage projects only. Some of them want that. So it depends on the person who wants to start.
Now, since you spoke about the aspect of client and selection process,
Yeah.
some clients tend to think that I've seen this on Instagram, I've seen it
Hmm.
on Pinterest,
Hmm.
I can do it by myself. I
Yeah.
just need the carpenter or whatever.
Yeah.
So that is some big mistake they're landing themselves into. So what advice would you give to a client who thinks that they can suddenly become an interior designer, unless if they are not?
No, I won't say want to become an interior designer. I think we'll talk about people who want to do up their own home. There's
Hmm.
nothing wrong
Hmm.
if they want to do up their own home. Absolutely fine if they think they are capable and if they have a good set of carpenters who can work with. One suggestion I give it to them is don't crowd it up. Okay. Uh, when you look at when you're looking at Instagram and you're looking at Pinterest. There are so many things which are beautiful.
Hmm.
Okay, one might be modern, another design might be something else, but all of them look beautiful in its own place. But then don't try to put everything together. I want this from here, and another thing from another way. Please don't do that.
Hmm.
Keep it simple, um, and don't crowd the house with too much of furniture. Uh, like again, the sofas, get amazing sofas everywhere. So doesn't mean that you have to have everything in your house. uh, Take time, look at some design which, the style that you like more,
Hmm.
and stick to that, and give keep the space more open. Don't crowd it. That's something what I would like to tell them.
Since you touched about the trends, right?
Yeah.
So, what is the current trend for a particular project, or what do you think the trend is going to move towards in the future?
Right now, the trend is something I really, I'm liking, is minimalistic,
Hmm.
and the walls and neutrals are in. So the colors are all these neutral palettes, like the grays and the beiges
Hmm.
are in. And gray is my favorite color, so I'm loving it. So that's what it is now. If you look at large houses also, uh, you have these beautiful big walls with just one large painting with texture on it.
Hmm.
It looks amazing, and that's how I love interiors, plain, simple, minimalistic.
Now, in terms of the business of interior designer, like since you've started and it's been 20 years,
Hmm.
someone who has just started their own firm,
Yeah.
is there any particular timeline where, let's say 5 years, 10 years, that
Mm.
they can start seeing a regular flow of projects, or it's all about luck?
Uh, no, I mean, for someone who started off on their own, I don't think they have to wait for that long.
Hmm.
It all depends. I think that depends on the right connections that you have, the network that you're a part of. It all depends on that,
Hmm.
and of course, you have to do good work. So, if you have those three things, then I don't think they have to wait for long for good projects. There are many, many interior designers and architects now, but I think good people will continue to have work.